Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda Radha Gokula Nanda Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Shishi Radha Gokulananda ki Shishi Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Shishi Gaurnitai ki Shala Jagat Guru Prabhupada ki Nittai Gaur Pramanande Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to this evening's Bhagavad Gita class, which will last approximately around an hour, and then after that, we'll be having Guru Arati. But before I begin the class, we'll just start with a short invocation. Om Agyanatimantasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Prayajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everyone, for those that are assembled in the temple room and those that are watching online. Thank you all so much for the permission to be once able to share some little bit of reflection. I'm only able to do so with the prayers and the blessings of all the Vaishnava devotees, so thank you all so much. So today we're reading from chapter 17, which is the divisions of faith, and the verse will be text 18. As I've mentioned in today's class, my Sanskrit is rusty, but this time I'll try and take my time. Satkaramana pujatam tapodambena chevayat kriyate tad iha praktam rajasam chalam adruvam Satkaramana pujatam tapodambena chevayat kriyate tad iha proktam rajasam chalam adruvam Satkaramana pujatam tapodambena chevayat kriyate tad iha proktam rajasam chalam adruvam. Does anyone want to have a go? Verse 18. Chapter 17. Yes, it'll give me a bit of more enthusiasm if someone has a go. Yes. Which text did you read? 18, right? 18. Chapter 17. Yeah. That's fine. We'll just continue. It's good. So we'll just continue with transliteration. So satkara, just repeat after me. Satkara, respect. Mana, honor. Puja, and worship. Artam, for the sake of. Tapa, austerity. Dambena, with pride. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Yat, which. Kriyate, is performed. Tat, that. Iha, in this world. Proktam, is said. Rajasam, in the mode of passion. Chalam, flickering. Adruvam, temporary. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Penance performed out of pride and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion. Oh, actually, it was 19. You're right. Penance performed out of foolishness, with self-torture, or to destroy or injure others is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. There are instances of foolish penance undertaken by demons like Hiranyakashipu, who performed austere penance to become immortal and kill the demigods. He prayed to Brahma for such things, but ultimately he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To undergo penance for something which is impossible is certainly in the mode of ignorance. Thank you. So you did recite the right verse. So, as I was reading this particular verse and I was reading through the purport, one thing that sort of really stood out for me is how our austerity and our penance can actually sometimes injure and harm those around us, psychologically, mentally, in one way or another. So today, what I really want to, when I provide class, my thought process and my focus really becomes about what is relevant and practical for devotees. What is it that they can sort of take and extract from a class so that therefore they can improve the quality of their Krishna consciousness? So today what we're actually going to speak about is the importance, the significance of Vaishnava relationship and devotee relationship. And one thing that really kind of comes into my mind is that, and I'm sure we've all experienced this, there's many devotees here that are doing the 7-day Be a Monk course, and then there's people that live out there in the real world. Not that, well, I don't know about the real world out there, but they live in the world out there. Is that people in this material world, they spend on income that they've endeavored so hard to earn, to buy things that they don't require, in order to fit into a society with an insane norm. Bhaktivedanta Swami actually describes how an insane norm basically means a world that is driven by success. You see, a world that is driven by success is a world where people want to use people to get things. But that is not the sort of community, that is not the sort of environment that we find ourselves in when we're in Krishna consciousness. So this is the tapasya of the materialists. The tapasya of the materialist is that I'm going to work hard to make a lot of money, and with that money regularly buy things that I don't need in order to be able to fit in with society. And of course, to some degree or another, we do need to earn an income, we do need to purchase and buy things that are necessary, but not to over endeavor. Srila Prabhupada said that there's enough in this world for our need, but not enough for our greed. And not only that, Prabhupada said that we all experience austerity. To one degree or another, we all have to undertake austerity, but the question is, what form of austerity are we undertaking? And how is it helping us? How is it helping us to progress? How is it helping us to come closer to Krishna? And that's the thing, it's that time after time, We've heard many lectures. We've read Srila Prabhupada's books. We've heard, we chant, we hear, we read, and we theoretically understand what it is that we should desire. We theoretically understand where it is that we want to go in our Krishna consciousness. We theoretically understand the outcome of this beautiful process that we're following. But yet we're an emotional being. And they say that when emotion is high, logic is low. We're an emotional being. We're driven by emotions. And what sort of emotion? Emotion for sense gratification. Emotion for sense gratification. I've experienced it many, many times when devotees come, especially devotees that are in their recent years, and even maybe devotees that have been practicing for 20, 30 years. And, sometimes it's very easy to get disheartened and discouraged in Krishna consciousness, because in the material process is that I do something and then I'm able to experience a result, and that result is what fuels me and what keeps me going. But in Krishna consciousness, it's a process that actually when we practice it, what's happening is that internally there's so much transformation happening, and externally we may not be able to see it, but because we're not able to see it, we become disheartened and discouraged. And that's where really devotees come in. Devotees are so amazing because, as I've mentioned to you earlier on, that the people that we choose to surround ourselves with, the people that we spend time with, the people that we associate with actually influence our decisions, they influence our choices, and they influence the role that we take on in this world. And we must bear that in mind, that actually whatever choices and decisions that we make are not ours to make, but is the people that we surround ourselves with. And so this is a question that we can regularly evaluate on. This is a question that we can regularly think of, is that whom am I surrounding myself with? How are they influencing me? And the result that I'm experiencing in my Krishna consciousness, is that something I'm content with? And if it's not, then we must evaluate that perhaps maybe my circle requires an adjustment, or the quality of my conversation requires an adjustment. I was mentioning 2 days ago how the average person utilizes between 200 to 300 words in their vocabulary. 300 to 400 words. So it's really, really important. And in the Gita, chapter 2, verse 62, it mentions that while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them. And from such an attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. So I want to share, in our scripture, it mentions about how once there was a yogi, and this yogi was meditating for many, many, many decades. And then once he just heard the anklet bell of a woman, and that was enough to sort of disrupt his entire meditation. And so therefore, the sort of people that we actually associate ourselves with, if we associate ourselves with cultured people, then we become cultured. But if we associate ourselves with corrupt people, then we become corrupt. And there's one really beautiful pastime. There's one really beautiful story that I want to share with you. Once there was a sage, and this sage was doing so many tapasya, and he was about to ask for benediction. But then what had happened was Lord Indra wasn't very satisfied with that, wasn't very happy with, and he thought, okay, how can I interfere with this person's tapasya? So what he had done was he actually gave this sage a sword, and he said to the sage that, he came to him in the form of a hunter, and he said to him, can you just hold this sword? I'm going to come back for it. So then the sage was carrying this sword for time and time and time and time. And over time, what had happened was, of course, he started to actually utilize the sword to cut trees, to take on fruits. But then eventually he started to utilize the sword to kill people and to hurt people. So what it is that no matter how elevated we are, no matter what stage of progression we are in our Krishna consciousness, one thing that I must really emphasize is that the people that we surround ourselves with, the people that we spend time with, over time we actually gradually develop their qualities. We develop their symptoms. We develop the similar desires to them. similar wishes, similar qualities, similar behavior, similar attitude. So it's really, really conscious. We may think that I've been practicing for so and so years, I'm stable, I'm situated, but in the science world, there's a certain terminology called a compound effect, and what that means is we may not necessarily realize it immediately, but over time, the people that we surround ourselves with, slowly but surely, we develop their character in a very short, small ways until it becomes so immense that we've actually become similar to them. So it's really important, and that's why Srila Prabhupada has actually established a wonderful movement like ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because he knew that influence is a huge thing in our society. And so therefore he wanted us to be in the association of the Vaishnavas, of devotees, people that we can reveal our heart to, people that we can connect with, people that are relatable to us and that we can grow with and we can mature with. And so therefore, when we go out there in the world, we're able to inspire and influence. We're able to actually give association more so than taking association. And one thing that I really want to mention before I move on to something really important is that one thing that we must be very mindful of and careful is Vaishnava aparad. We must be very, very conscious and aware and cautious of committing offenses to devotees. Krishna says that I am in the heart of the devotees and the devotees are in the heart. I'm also in their heart and they're in my heart. So therefore, by committing Vaishnava aparad, by offending the devotees, is very difficult to actually get forgiveness from Krishna unless we get forgiveness from the devotees. And Vaishnava aparad can actually seem sometimes so small, like it's not significant. Like, yeah, we're just talking about this devotee, it's okay, But for every time that we do this, actually what's happening is that all the wonderful qualities that we've developed, all the wonderful seva that we're doing, all the progress that we're making, we're slowly diminishing it simultaneously. So it's really, really important that if we don't have anything constructive to say, if we don't have any positive feedback, if there's no way that we can help someone, then best to refrain from gossip, from attacking their character. They say that don't hate the sinner, hate the sin. So therefore, we're all in this material world. We've all come into contact with material nature, and we're all bound to make mistakes at some stage and point in our life. It's not that we're perfect and everyone else around us are imperfect. We've all got imperfection. So therefore, just as there are people that tolerate us, that are there to help us and guide us, we must also become an agent, an instrument to be able to do similar. And that is what real compassion is. That is what real progressiveness in relationship with Vaishnava really is, to support one another and to help one another and to elevate one another. And if we're not in a position to do that, then who can we actually seek out for that can do that for us? Because we may not have a relationship like that with a devotee. So this is really, really important, because the reason I say this is what I'm about to share next, which can really help us that. And not only should we avoid Vaishnava aparad, we should also avoid putting devotees in an awkward position where they may commit aparad towards other devotees. You see, I was mentioning the other day that we're all in each other's life for a reason, for a purpose. And mainly because, in one sense, living in this world, we're caretaker of one another's spiritual life. That means that, Krishna may have actually involved an individual person in our life for us to be able to help them and for them to be able to help us in order for us to be able to return to him. So that's also very important to remember. And now what I really want to mention is that why is it so important that, we spend time with the Vaishnavas, with devotees? As I was actually mentioning also, and repetition is really important. So I've mentioned this 2 days ago and I'm mentioning it again, that, when we're in the temple, that we're taught a certain sort of framework, and that framework is that we should try and spend 20% of our time with senior devotees, 40% of our time with peers, and 40% of our time with juniors. The reason why 20% is that familiarity breeds contempt. When we spend too many time with someone that we may respect, someone that may inspire us in our spiritual life, someone that guides us, when we spend too many times, we can actually develop the tendency to become very comfortable. And comfortable, but also just we become inspired, but we may not do something. So therefore, 20% is really, really important, because then we can extract what is necessary. And then 40% of the time spending with peers means that we can find people in our life that we're able to relate with, people that we can speak with. The thing is, if we spend too much time focused on someone that is more senior to us, someone that's been practicing Krishna consciousness for so and so many years, then it may actually, to one sense, make the journey seem bigger, harder, and longer than what it really is. Because we may get into this mentality of comparison, comparing our spiritual life to someone who may have been practicing for many years, and that's really important, that we shouldn't focus so much on the destination as much as we should also focus on the journey. Some of you may have come to the temple and you may be doing a particular course, and you may think like, oh wow, so-and-so person, so elevated, so senior, like they know how to read Sanskrit, they know how to do this. But now if we compare our journey and where we are established in with where someone else is established in, and how much effort and endeavor they've put in, then it's really unfair. And we cripple ourselves. Comparison cripples us from being able to progress forward. Not only that, then we may get into the mentality that I may not be as good as this person, so let me just find faults. Let me find reason why this person, what this person lacks. What is this person's shortcoming? But actually, when we focus too much time on what other people's shortcoming is, we're only paying more attention to what our own shortcomings are, and what we need to develop on, and what we need to work on, and what we need to sort of progress on. And then we get competitive. So these are some things that we can avoid. And how? By spending 20% of the time with someone that is senior to us, 40% of the time someone that is more relatable to us, someone that we can connect with, someone that can help us and guide us, and then 40% of the time someone that we can inspire. You see, because ultimately Krishna consciousness isn't so much about take like we're taught in the material world. Krishna consciousness is also a process in which we are encouraged to share. We are encouraged, and through our sharing, then that knowledge becomes wisdom. It transforms into realizations. Realization doesn't merely happen through studying. It doesn't happen through philosophy alone. It doesn't happen through knowledge. It comes through practicality. So what are the small things that you could do for association for the people around you? That's a wonderful question to ask, isn't it? What is it that you can do rather than what is it that people are doing for you? So when we surround ourselves with devotees, it's so important, because what it actually first does is that it reduces our inspiration for sense gratification. When we've all come to this, when we've all first joined the ashram, when we first came to the temple, when we've first started taking Krishna consciousness serious, there are some elements of conditions that we have. And that's why I always tell people, don't get discouraged. Because the first phase of Krishna consciousness is really all about unlearning, unconditioning yourself. Really sort of, and when you uncondition yourself, when you unlearn, then you are prepared to be able to make progress. So associating with devotees helps to reduce our desire for sense gratification. Because what it is that in our life, what we're exposed to is what we become inspired by. None of you would not have wanted to become a monk, or none of you would have wanted to sort of take Krishna consciousness serious without seeing someone else that took it serious. And no one inspires us as much as Srila Prabhupada does. When we study his life, when we look at his biography and what he has done at the age of 69 to travel to the West and establish this whole movement, that's inspirational. And it makes us feel like, I just also want to be as inspirational as that. I want to do something similar. I want to contribute to society. So therefore, you cannot become what you are not exposed to. Whatever you expose yourself with, that will be the capacity of your inspiration. And so when we actually associate ourselves with Vaishnavas, with devotees, what happens is that we start to realize the futility of material sense gratification. We start to realize that so many people before us have tried to enjoy this world and extract whatever happiness there is in this material world, and it didn't work for them. So how can it possibly work for us? Material enjoyment is actually compared to like a drip of water in a desert. It's nice for a little semi-second, but then after that you realize you're suffering again. So that's number one. Number one is that they reduce our inspiration for sense gratification, but not only that, they increase our inspiration for service and to get attached to the Lord. When you see someone else doing a wonderful service, doesn't it also inspire you? When you see someone cleaning the temple, it makes you want to feel like, I want to also help out. I want to clean the temple. When you see someone serving prasadam, it kind of whelms this inspiration in you that, oh, I want to also help serve prasadam. So as the saying, we become the total sum of the people that we surround ourselves with. If we surround ourselves with people that have positive attitude towards service, they have a positive attitude and eagerness, and that's actually the key fundamental thing. Shishi Radha Gokulananda ki, Shishi Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuma ki, Shishi Gauranitai ki. That is the most important thing. Srila Prabhupada actually said the most important qualification in advancement in Krishna consciousness is actually enthusiasm. So when we surround ourselves with people that are enthusiastic in the process of devotional service, then we also take on that enthusiasm. And when we're able to take on that enthusiasm becomes a factor and an element in order to help us to progress. But if we surround ourselves with people that are mediocre, and no offense, but we must be very critical in who we spend our time with and how we spend our time. The analogy, the similarity that is given is that, when we lose an income, we can make that income back. But when we lose time, that is a time we can never get back. So therefore, we must be very critical in how we choose to spend our time and whom we choose to spend our time with. And when we choose to spend our time with people that are enthusiastic, they're eager, they're very excited to wake up every morning and to do service and to become purified, then we also develop that eagerness and enthusiasm. And you can evaluate it. You may feel externally, I haven't made much of a progress, but think back on when you first joined the temple and what kind of qualities that you were attached to and you were holding on to, what kind of desire, and think back on now at this stage of your journey, and you'll realize that the sort of attachment I had, the sort of desires I was holding on to, the sort of things I used to enjoy doing, I don't enjoy doing it anymore. Now, is that through your own hard work and effort? No. It's through the guidance and the help and the support of the devotees. Otherwise, why would Srila Prabhupada create ISKCON? What was the need for to establish ISKCON? If Prabhupada had so much faith that we can just do it on our own, then he could have just given us the philosophy and just be like, okay, go then get on with it. But no, he established ISKCON because he knew that Maya, the illusory energy, is so powerful. It's so powerful that it makes you think that this is happening because of my own endeavor, my own effort, my own hard work. And that is the first stage, that is the first step to falling away from the community of the Vaishnavas and the devotees, and then speculation and mental concoction and thinking that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I deserve the result. So Prabhupada established ISKCON. And then the devotees, not only do they inspire us to serve, but they also inspire us to become attached to Krishna. You see, the reality is that every single one of us in this material world are attached to something. The question is, what are you attached to? In the Krishna book, it talks about how actually we're either dancing with the string of Maya or the string of Krishna. So it's either Krishna is orchestrating our life for us, or we've actually surrendered to the illusory energy, and that is what is orchestrating our life for us. But we have a choice. Viktor Frankl wrote a book which is called The Man's Search for Meaning. And in that book, he actually explains and describes something very important, that everything and anything can be taken away from you, but the only thing that cannot be taken away from you is your freedom to choose. So then the question is, what do you choose? Do you choose sense gratification, which the Gita actually mentions, which is nectarian in the beginning and poisonous in the end? Or do you choose chastity? Do you choose to remain very loyal to the instructions and the words of Krishna, which may in the beginning seem very poisonous, but then later on is nectarian? So devotees help us to become attached to Krishna. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 11, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, chapter 26, verse 26, it says that an intelligent person should reject all bad association and take the association of saintly devotees, whose words cut off the excessive attachment of one's mind. That is the power of the Vaishnavas, the devotees, especially the pure devotees. When we hear their words, it cuts our attachment and inspires us to become attached to Krishna. So a very wonderful question that you can ask yourself on a regular basis is, what is the quality of your relationship with the Vaishnavas? And what is the quality of your conversations with the devotees? Do you find yourself that most of the time, and this is also a question for me as much as it is for everyone else, do you find yourself most of the time complaining and whining about the quality of prasadam and this situation and that situation and this devotee did that and that devotee did this, or this is going on in our movement, that's going on in our movement? Or is it constructive? Is it productive? Is it like, how do we come closer to Krishna? Shruti Dharma Prabhu once said, that no matter what difficulties and challenges there are in our Krishna consciousness or whatever it is, Krishna is still God, Srila Prabhupada is still Guru, we still have this process of bhakti, and if we follow it, we can become a pure devotee. But the thing is, the process works, but do we work? Are we serious? Are we committed? Are we taking conscious sort of introspection of the quality of our conversation, the quality of our relation? And do we have the eagerness that we want to make it out, if we can, in this one life? So this is something that we can regularly sort of introspect. A devotee should be as introspective as a karma is speculative. So the other thing is that when we surround ourselves with devotees, the first thing that they also inspire us to do is not to become dependent on anything material. For all of our material crisis that we're going through, it stems from a spiritual crisis. When we resolve, when we align and attune what is spiritually sort of crying out for us, then we can materialistically deal with any challenges and difficulties. Because what it is that we experience that affirmation that Krishna is always there to help me. The devotees are always there to support me. And ISKCON is right behind me. So we develop a sense of relief and confidence that you cannot find anywhere materially other than within Krishna consciousness, with a Krishna consciousness mindset. If you can't change things around you, then change your consciousness and you'll see things differently. And that's what Krishna consciousness is all about, a change, a shift of perspective, so that therefore you're able to deal with situations and circumstances maturely. Not only that, the devotees always help us to become conscious and always remember the Lord. So again, Shruti Dharma Prabhu also said that peace is not the absence of chaos, but it's seeing everything in relation to Krishna. So therefore, there'll always be difficulties, there'll always be challenges, there'll always be chaos. But if we see everything in relation to Krishna, just like as Parikshit Maharaj did when he was cursed to die in 7 days, just as Prahlad Maharaj did, even though his father was trying to kill him in many ways, and just as like Prabhupada did when he took the Jaladuta. Jaladuta. So therefore, and Prabhupada, the thing is, we may not be able to, like these acharyas and such as Parikshit Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, they may be someone from a very distant, but Prabhupada, the saint, the modern day saint, someone that is very close to us. We get to interact with him every day. We get to sing to him every day. And, he's very much alive in every single one of our life. And he's shown us actually that by constantly remembering Krishna, that is, you can say, the antiseptic. That is the sort of relief from all the disease in this material world. and that we're able to accomplish anything and everything with the remembrance of Krishna. So they also inspire us, the devotees inspire us with a spiritual vision. The thing is, if we see things only through pratyaksha, what our senses perceive, then we'll always struggle. But if we see things from a spiritual vision, that everything is all connected so beautifully to Krishna. And actually, it's amazing. I was speaking to one devotee and he was telling me how much he's struggling in his Krishna consciousness. And I was telling him that, Prabhupada once gave a very famous lecture, a very important lecture, where he said that when you try and come closer to Krishna, Krishna takes everything away from you. So therefore, you have nothing left but him. He takes everything away from you. Prabhupada tried to maintain and sustain his pharmacy business and at the same time spread Krishna consciousness. But eventually, he had to give it up. He had to give up his business. He had to give up his family. He had to give up everything and completely depend on Krishna. That's what Krishna wants. Krishna wants you to completely depend on him. When you depend on him, then that's where the sort of empowerment comes in. That's where inspiration comes in. So devotees also help us to become more peaceful. The more we understand Krishna through his devotees, the more we develop relief and confidence. They also help us to become free from possessiveness. Sometimes we talk about the process of surrender, of giving up. But in the Shruti it talks about how ultimately everything belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. It's all parts and parcel of Krishna. So therefore, where is the surrender? How can you surrender something that doesn't even belong to you in the first place, and it's simply given to you as a sort of an instrument to help you in your Krishna consciousness, to help you to progress? This material world is an opportunity to either enjoy and continue delving into our lower nature and into the lower worlds, or it's an opportunity to be able to connect with our higher self, to be able to connect with Krishna and to utilize the facilities and resources in order to progress and to come closer to Krishna. Again, man's last, the freedom of choice. You get to choose. So really and truly, I always try and meditate on how actually nothing belongs to me. I try and meditate on that. Nothing belongs to me. But yet the facilities and resources are here for me to be able to come closer to Krishna and understand Krishna. That's why also we put on a tilak on our body, because it's there to remind us that even this body doesn't belong to us. We must one day give it all up. And then last but not least, it helps us to sort of become free from, devotees help us to become free from false ego. They help us to understand our position in this world. Most of us want to be served, but very little people want to serve. But even more than that, most of us want to be leaders. And there's a very beautiful saying that if serving is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. If you want to become a wonderful leader, then you have to aspire to become a bigger of a servant. Because that's what it means. To become a leader means to become a servant. In today's material world, we can see so many leaders that have become corrupt by power, by greed, by selfishness. And as a result of it, you can see how corrupt they've become. Because they don't see themselves that I'm a leader, that this is actually Krishna's property. These are Krishna's people, and I'm their caretaker. So therefore, I need to facilitate a situation and a circumstance in which they can practice their Krishna consciousness and come closer to Krishna. They don't see that. They see that these are my objects. These are for my sense gratification. And they do as I wish and as I want. And as a result of it, they wind making people suffer, and they suffer in the process. But their suffering is even bigger as time and time immemorial. So we need to stop equating how much progress we've made based on what we see around us. And we must realize that real progress is happening internally. It happens through the transformation of one's heart, the transformations of one's consciousness, not just the transformation of one's circumstances. Even if your circumstances changes but your consciousness doesn't change, you'll always somehow find a way to return back to your lower nature. And the most important way that we can always remain connected is through Srila Prabhupada. The thing is, we desire and we crave so much for physical association. You know, sometimes devotees say that I'm so unfortunate that I've missed Srila Prabhupada during his time. You know, that I don't get to associate with him. I'm so unfortunate that I don't get to speak with him as Srila Prabhupada disciples have. But actually, Srila Prabhupada's disciples themselves will tell you that Vani is more important than Vapu. That physical association doesn't mean as much as the instruction that we follow the spiritual master, the spiritual teacher. Srila Prabhupada has established this whole movement, and he's written so many countless of books, not just for his direct disciples, but for every single one of us, so that therefore he can touch the lives of all of us. He said that if you want to understand me and know me, then read my book. You'll understand parts of me that even, no one else does. So you'll get to know so much more about me than even my own disciples could. So Srila Prabhupada, his books were his ecstasy. It was a way of him revealing his mind and his meditations. So therefore, by remaining chaste to his Vani, his instructions, his books, and not just remaining chaste, but following it and applying it in our life, then we can come closer to Krishna than even his own disciples did back in them days. So he's given us the process. He's given us the process. He's given us Vaishnavas. He's given us this movement. He's given us Prasadam. He's given us everything. The question that I'll leave you all with is what you're going to do about it. Hare Krishna. Any question? No question? Must have been that terrible. Anyone else? One thing I always encourage in class is full participation, activeness, and questions. The reason why is because I was doing some research for something different. And they actually say, for every new information we learn, 50% of it we forget about it. And that's only half of the day. And then 70% we forget about it in the 24 hours of the day. And then another statistic says that how actually when we passively listen, we're only able to retain 5% of information. But when we are active, we're actually able to retain 95% of information. And not only information, then that information through discussion, we can transform it into wisdom and realization. So even if you don't have a question, just share a reflection. Each one of you. Yeah. That's fine. Mm. 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 Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah. Mm. 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 Precisely. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. No, it's just for the online people also. Okay. Mm. Mm. First of all, it's not the real world. I think everything that you're being taught in your course isn't so much for for you just to stick with it here. It's to help you to sort of in the world out there too. And that's what we must realize, that sometimes we think Krishna consciousness just ends within the four walls of the temple room, but it doesn't. The practicality of it is so simple that you can even apply it even in the outside world. Krishna consciousness isn't there to sort of take away anything from your life, but it's actually to add the most important element, which is Krishna. So therefore, if you just, like I said, the remembrance of Krishna is the antiseptic for sort of any sort of material overwhelmment you may be feeling. So just meditate on that. Meditate on your chanting. When you chant attentively. Everyone has a morning program, whether it's a kami or a devotee. Everyone has a morning program to help them to reach a certain particular success. But the success that you're endeavoring for and you're trying to achieve is a spiritual success. So every morning, wake up early, chant Hare Krishna nicely and attentively, and read regularly. These are things you can do, whether you're living in a temple or outside the temple. Wake up early in the morning and just have a good, solid morning program. Any grihasta, anyone that is living outside in the world, will tell you the same thing. Chant, read, hear, have a solid program, and that will help you to be able to sustain yourself. Krishna says that whatever you lack, I provide. Wherever your shortcomings is, that he helps you. But what it is that he wants to see your sincerity. He wants to see that you're trying hard, you're surrendered, to the degree that you surrender, I reward accordingly. So he just wants to see that, and when he sees that, then he's like, okay, there's someone that's trying to come closer to me, so let me help her or him. So, but anyone will tell you there's no special formula. You just the same thing that you're learning here, just apply it when you're at home. And so many people have done a particular course here. They've gone outside. They're applying the same thing that they've learned here. And yeah, they're still growing. And some of them are initiated. So there's no special formula. Just get that out of your head. And just do the simple basic necessity, the ABCD. Yeah. Mm. No. Mm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice. It's really nice to hear everyone's sort of reflections. What about you? Did I answer your question then? And I think so just have a simple morning process routine. That helps. That's practical. With that being said, we've only got 2 minutes, so you're very fortunate on this side. Antara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Pramanande. Hare Krishna.
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavedanta Bahu
please sit down. We're going to have the Nishingadev prayers now. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parajakacharya Astara Shishimad, His Divine Grace. Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parajakacharya Astara Shishimad, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Kshetra Puri Dham Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Prashadam Distribution Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Samveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. So we'll just have Nishingadev praise now.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Dayine. Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha. Shilatankana Kalaye. Shilatankana Kalaye. Ito nirshima parato nirshimo. Yato yato yamitato nirshimo. Ahi nirshimo hirdaye nirshimo. Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapagye. Navakarana Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nityam Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nityam Gaura Hari Bol. Nityam Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nityam Gaura Hari Bol. Bhaktivedanta Manor. I mean, I've known about it for a long, long time. I think this everyone's talking about the manor everywhere we go.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, if you want to come tomorrow morning 4:30 for darshan, is it open?
I actually don't know, but yeah, I think it's
We can just come, right?
right.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Good, that's commitment coming at 4:30. I'm very austere. Very austere. So yeah.
So you coming for a few years?
No, it's only been like a month.
Okay.
That I've been in London.
Okay.
But
Where are you from?
I'm from South.
Okay, so you're just visiting.
I'm visiting for like 2 months. I'm actually thinking about spending my stay, eventually moving in, but that's a contract.
Here, like living in here.
Yeah, I just love it so much because I was spending a lot of time with this whole country. But now that I think
Who do you know? Krishnananda?
Krishnananda, oh yes, Krishnananda. I've been cooking with him at Studio 188 every week. He's a funny guy, very funny guy. A lot of people. Whatever. There's Krishnananda, there's Mateo, there's Sebastian, or Sebastian.
Yeah, I've done this.
Yeah, Rupanaga, Ramdas.
So you've been going there quite
I've been going there pretty much. I've been the president or down, and more. I mean, it's very festive, but Bhaktivedanta Manor is just another level. You know what I mean? It's just a different vibe. Yeah. So it's just like, I've been coming here doing Gosha service and
So you know a tutor?
at the Soul Temple.
The Gosha. There's Mohan there as well.
Mohan, yeah, Mohan was just here.
The other, there's another Mohan. Madan.
Who's a tutor is? I forget. If I know him, if I
He's quite short. He's Iranian.